Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today's video I'm going to be sharing 5 strategies to help improve your planning, which has a direct impact on your productivity. Now these 5 strategies and more are all things that I learned and dug deeper into in the HB90 course, which is a planning system that works for so many different people. Now I'm sharing these 5 tips today because not only are we about to start Q3 and they might become helpful for you, but also the HB90 course is actually still open for enrollment. So the live kickoff call goes live on, I think, Sunday. So make sure to check that out if you want to come and join us. I'll leave all the links down below. Now, as far as this video is concerned, stay tuned to the end where I've got a couple of bonus tips about planning for you. So let's dive in. I don't do well in heat at all. So 5 strategies to improve your planning. The first strategy that I have learned and think is a really useful strategy is to plan quarterly. So the reason why that's a good thing is that 3 months, which is quarter of the year, so 3 months is long enough to put some things into place and to put goals into place and see the outcome for that. A month isn't quite long enough, and any longer it could be too long, because whilst 3 months is long enough to see if something's working, it's also short enough that if something isn't working or a goal isn't working out, you can actually change up and switch up your projects and goals for the next quarter. So I do think planning quarterly is a really helpful planning tool. It also means that if you spend a lot of time at the beginning of that quarter planning everything out for all eventualities, for the quarter, that means when it comes to your week by week planning or your day by day planning, you've sort of already done that thinking beforehand, and it's much easier and simple to just go, right, I'm working on task ABC today and I'll leave the rest for tomorrow because I've already worked out what's coming next. There's none of that like, oh no, what's the next project? What deadlines have I got coming up? What do I have to make sure I've got done this week so that it can be done next week? That's all done in advance in one go, which is one of the best reasons I love quarterly planning. Get all that stuff done first, and then the rest of the quarter is much simpler. Also, if you could excuse any sort of sound issues, that's because I'm struggling with hay fever at the moment, and to me, I sound really nasally. I probably sound normal on the outside, but gosh, my voice is annoying me today. So, strategy number 2 is working out what time availability you actually have, not what you think you have or what you would like to have to get everything done. So one of the things that we do, and that the HB90 course goes into a lot of detail for, is working out your time availability. A lot of us seem to overestimate what time we actually have, and a lot of us have busy lives. Some of us are working other jobs, we have children, XYZ. There's a lot going on, and sometimes we can be a little bit unrealistic about what time we have available to us. Another thing that I really like, and is something that makes so much sense, but is something I never did before, is to work in a buffer time. So you're planning for 3 months, okay? Now, what happens in 3 months? In 3 months, you might have a day where you don't feel so good. You might become ill. Your children might become ill. Something might crop up in your personal life that you have to lose out on a day. And these sort of things are things you can't always plan for. So what you do is plan in some buffer time. So you work out what time you've got, or the appointments that you've already got already in your time schedule. You work out when you can work from, when you can work to, when you can work around your children if you've got children. And then when you've worked all that out, then you add in some buffer time, which means you will have less time than you thought you did. But it really does come in helpful when something does crop up unexpectedly. And what's the worst that can happen? You don't need that buffer time? fab. You can spend a longer time working on a project that you didn't have as much time for. Or you could be, you start looking into what projects you'd like to do for the next quarter, or what you'd like to research and look into further. If you haven't got time to do that, that could be the time you use for that. And if I'm being honest, for me, there's always something that takes me longer than what I anticipated. So that buffer time, if I don't need it as actual buffer time for not being able to work, sometimes it just allows me to mop up things that I didn't get done. Or it allows me to take a break if I need to, which I think is another good reason. So that is strategy number 2, is to plan for the time that you actually have, not for what you think you have, and not for what you would like to have. So strategy number 3 is actually what I talked about last week, or linked to what I spoke about last week, which is having a goal with a good, better, best outcome. So in the comments section of my video last week, somebody commented about that sort of good, better, best goal system. And I've been thinking about it a lot. And I think another way of looking at it is to have your 3 sub-levels. So instead of good, better, best, to have your realistic, your challenge, and your dream goal, which I think is a really nice way of looking at it. So your realistic goal is something that you know you can get, you still have to work towards, but it's achievable. And because when something feels achievable, you're probably a bit more motivated to go and do it. The second one is better, but it's your challenge, okay? It's somewhat within your reach, but it is a challenge for you. And then your third one, the best, would then become your dream goal, because we shouldn't be capping our dreams. And that's what I spoke about last week. So if you're interested, go and check that out. But we don't want to be capping things. So if I had no caps, no limits, no nothing, this would be a really lovely goal to reach, and having that dream goal. So that's something that you might want to look at. Instead of good, better, best, having a realistic challenge dream goal. Also, when you're having your goals with a good, better, best system, is to have something that is specific and numbers orientated, because it really drives down, it really hones in your projects and tasks to achieve that goal. And whilst you may not hit the better or the best or the challenge and the dream goals, you should always be hoping to get that realistic goal ticked off, the lowest that you would accept as being successful. Now again, everyone's version of success is very different, so those numbers are going to look very different to everybody. But I just think that having that numbers orientated goal means that you can clearly see if you've hit something or not. When it's a bit more open-ended, it becomes harder to say if you've achieved that goal or not, which is why I've been really liking a numbers orientated goal with a good, better, best, or a realistic challenge dream outcome. So strategy number 4 is micro planning, micro tasks. So what do I mean by that? So underneath your goals, you'll have your projects, sort of the big things that you want to achieve. And underneath your projects, you will have your tasks. Now, everybody likes their tasks being written out in different ways. So for me personally, I love micro tasks because I need to see that something is progressing, and I need to feel like I'm hitting something achievable and moving it into that done section. So for instance, if part of my project was to write a novella during Q3, well, that might take a long time to write, and it can be, for me, I can find it a bit off-putting seeing something continuously not being finished. So what I might do is have underneath that like I use the Kanban board, so I might have a task for every 1,000 words, so that every 1,000 words that I write, I can move that down and feel like I'm making progress. So for me, micro tasks really help me feel like I'm making progress. Also, I think sometimes some projects can feel quite daunting, and you don't actually know what you need to do. So at the beginning of each quarter, I have a think about what tasks need to be done to complete that project. So something like uploading my book to KDP. that's the project. But the tasks under that would be to make sure I've got my blurb ready, to complete all my upload sheets, to get my ISBNs ready, to have the formatting done and all those other things, and then uploading it, make sure I've got my cover ready. There would just be so many little tasks underneath. That means that I'm not forgetting something important, and that's why I love micro planning tasks. I think it really helps you to make sure you feel like you're making progress and make sure you're not missing anything out that you just might miss in a step, because uploading to KDP seems like a simple thing, but actually there's a lot you need to do that. Strategy number 5 is something that I don't do consistently, but I need to do it. And that's reviewing your monthly and your quarterly planning. So in the HB90 planner, there is actually a place for you to do that review and answer some questions for it. But even if you don't do that, having a moment to sit down and think about, right, what have I actually done? What have I actually achieved? So what outcomes have I got for Q2, which is what I have looked at last week. But also what worked well, what didn't work well, what projects didn't get done, why didn't they get done, and just having that little bit of a debrief with yourself so that it can inform your planning for the next quarter. Now, again, I don't always do this officially in the HB90 review in the planner, but I do always think about what needs to be done for the next quarter and how did the previous quarter go. I think also it can be really easy to sort of focus and hone in on what you didn't do, what you didn't achieve, when actually sometimes you need to stop and take stock of what you have done and what you have achieved. And actually sometimes even just doing that, it can spur you on and motivate you for the next quarter. So I always like to stop and review the previous quarter to see how things have gone. So I did promise some bonus tips. If you are going to join the HB90 group, one of the things I fully recommend is joining the Facebook group for HB90. It is the best place to go for support and encouragement, and I have met so many friends and so many contacts through being in Sarah Cannon's group, and one of them being the HB90 group. And it is just a lovely place to be. Everyone seems to be on board in the same sort of place in terms of we want to plan and be productive in our planning. We're all at different levels, obviously, but in terms of we're all there for the same thing, to be more productive and focused in our planning, and so that we can have better outcomes. And it is just a lovely supportive place to be. Also Sarah Cannon's in there as well, but there's people in there that have been doing this from the very start, so they are very experienced in this, and it is a brilliant place to be. So one of my biggest bonus tips would be to join that HB90 Facebook group if you decide to join the course. Also, if you decide to print the planner yourself, there are so many different options, things like Monday starts, Sunday starts, A5, planners like bigger size. I only print A5, so I don't know what the other size is. Like A4, but not quite. There's so many different options, like a weekly spread, a daily spread, or like I've got the yearly goals, which is a weekly task list. So there's lots of different options. But I do have a printing video if you want to print it yourself, which the vast majority of us do. So if you want to go check that out, I'll link that up here somewhere so you can go and check out the printing video, because it did take me a few tries to get that right. And lastly, I do have an affiliate link, so it doesn't cost you any extra. But if you do decide to join the course, I'd love it if you could use my link, because it helps me out. I absolutely love this course. It's lifetime access. So when she updates it later on this year, ready for next year, we'll get all of those updates for free, and you can do it anytime. So like this year, I'm actually going to follow alongside the Q3 planning so that I can really structure my planning in the best way I can. And I can't emphasize how much this course has helped me to plan my time. And it seems like such an easy thing, but actually it's not. And we've all got different ways of planning in our head, but this is such a flexible and personalizable, if that's a word, planning system that works for not just authors but for a wide variety of people. So I'd love to see you in the course. Let me know if you're already a HB90 alumni or if you're thinking of joining. I'll answer questions down below. But I hope that's helped. Those 5 strategies have helped you think about how you might go ahead planning Q3 so July is the start of Q3. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video, guys. Bye.